Hey everyone, me Kevin here. Let's talk about the craziness about the latest infrastructure packages, the debt ceiling, where we stand, and most importantly, what's going to happen going forward. So quickly, the Senate passed the short-term extension of the debt limit on Thursday by a vote of 50 to 48. Pretty party line vote. This was done without budget reconciliation because Mitch McConnell and 10 Republicans total allowed the filibuster to end. They were able to invoke cloture, paving the way for Democrats to pass the debt limit bill through this resolution that Republicans came up with along with Democrats, as long as the debt limit would just be extended through December. So now this bill is getting sent over to the House of Representatives, where obviously we expect it to get slam dunked. There was some last-minute drama as the bill got passed in the Senate. Chuck Schumer went to the floor and pretty much slammed Republicans for provoking this whole crisis. Apparently, Chuck Schumer wanted everybody to know how Democrats had this massive victory and they've prevailed over Republicans when, let's be real, it was Mitch McConnell who's kind of like, all right, like, hey, we'll let you kick the can down the road. Mitch McConnell kind of had a lot of power here. Now, some people say, well, but Mitch McConnell didn't want Democrats to vote to end the filibuster, and maybe that's why he allowed Democrats to move forward with this debt ceiling, raising the debt limit. I don't know. I don't think so. Joe Biden has clearly said he doesn't want the filibuster to end, and if Democrats got rid of the filibuster, then that means if Republicans had power next time around, Republicans would not have a filibuster to deal with, right? So, like, you could be all in power now if you wanted to be, but you'd get screwed in the future, in other words. So, Joe Biden and most of the leading Dems don't want to do this, as popular as it is to say, get rid of the filibuster. But anyway, Chuck Schumer really wanted to make it clear that this was a huge Democratic victory, and after that, you had a lot of folks like Joe Manchin, John Thune, Mike Rounds, Mitt Romney, all ragged on Chuck Schumer for this speech. Manchin going as far as potentially, although he did later deny this, calling the speech, and he actually said it, effing stupid to some reporters. Just so you could see what this speech was like, here's just a quick sample of it. And what's really neat about this shot is this is Chuck Schumer, this is Joe Manchin, and here's Mitch McConnell right here. Now, you barely get some shots here, but just watch Joe Manchin's reactions over the next 20 seconds here as Chuck Schumer is just going off on Republicans, suggesting that they finally caved to what the Democrats needed, and it's thanks to the Democrats this got done. Anyway, just watch.
Leader McConnell and Senate Republicans insisted they wanted a solution to the debt ceiling, but said Democrats must raise it alone by going through a drawn-out, convoluted, and risky reconciliation process. That was simply unacceptable to my caucus. And yesterday, Senate Republicans finally realized that their obstruction was not going to work. I very much thank, my Democratic colleagues
Not
for
Republicans.
showing our unity in solving this Republican-manufactured crisis. Despite immense opposition from Leader McConnell and members of his conference, our caucus held together, and we pulled our country back from the cliff's edge that Republicans tried to push us over.
This, by the way, goes on so much so that I'm just going to go fast forward here 15 seconds because watch Joe Manchin just get up.
Today, the Republican leader claimed was the only way to address the debt limit. Let me say that again.
He's like, I've had it. I can't take this crap anymore. But anyway, look, this debt ceiling thing, it's now essentially done. It's still got to pass the House, but it's essentially done. This keeps the debt ceiling extended through December of this year, and this means that Schumer's going to have to work with Republicans again to raise the debt ceiling and the limit. But here are some timetables that we have right now, which are pretty important. October 31st is when Nancy Pelosi has set a date to vote on the passing of the $1 trillion infrastructure plan. It's that 1 to 1.2 hard infrastructure plan. Chuck Schumer says he wants to raise the the Build Back Better plan by then. That now no longer expected to be $3.5 trillion, probably closer to $1.5 to $2.5 trillion, leading a lot of folks to wonder, okay, where are the cuts going to come from? Even the progressives, the House Progressive Chairwoman has made it very clear that, hey, she's open to negotiating a smaller number. I think she realizes this is going to become a take it or leave it kind of deal. Now the question is, how do we figure out where to cut that from the $3.5 trillion outline that we've had? A lot of folks are suggesting that they'll just shorten the time frame for certain benefits. For example, instead of doing a 4 to 5 year child care tax credit, maybe we'll just do a 2-year child care tax credit. We'll see. Now, December 3rd is the date when our government budget runs out again, so it's another date to keep an eye on. This is obviously separate from the debt ceiling, but we do have we've got a couple dates therefore in December. But for right now, we've bought ourselves a little bit of time for negotiations with these infrastructure packages and the debt ceiling, which is very good. Representative Ro Khanna also had a private conversation with Joe Biden about the Build Back Better plan and the bipartisan infrastructure deal, as well as the debt limit. Ro Khanna suggested getting Sanders and Manchin in a room together to figure out a compromise between Joe Manchin and Senator Sanders, Bernie Sanders. Now, remember, Ro Khanna is a progressive himself. In fact, last year he authored the Emergency Money for the People's Act, which would have given individuals $2,000 of stimulus per month. Not $600, not $1,400, not $1,200, but $2,000 per month. So Ro Khanna is obviously a progressive, but he's making the suggestion that, well, hey, if we get fellow progressive Sanders and moderate Manchin in a room together, maybe a compromise between them two could appease every Democrat, or as many as possible, in the House and the Senate. Now, in response to this suggestion, Joe Biden said that getting these two together in a room would be like homicide. And I can kind of see that as being possible because I think Bernie Sanders is extremely upset at somebody like Joe Manchin for holding up the progressive or left agenda, to which we've seen many tweets from Bernie Sanders suggesting that it is unfair that two people should be able to hold up the will of 48. But remember, it's always worth noting there are also Republicans who would join Joe Manchin, so it's really more like 58 versus 52. Sanders, of course, responded to this idea as well and said, it's not a movie. I don't know if you are a movie writer. This is not a movie. It's just kind of like, okay. So it looks like everybody's kind of seeing drama on both sides here. Sanders also reiterated his policy agenda and, of course, as usual, made his case for leaving certain elements in, like the Medicare's coverage of hearing, dental, and vision programs. Bernie Sanders also said that there's a direct link between Congress members who don't want to support lowering prescription costs and those who accept money from pharmaceutical companies. This is a slam at people like Kyrsten Sinema, who have received money, at least from what we can tell, have received money from lobbyists from the pharmaceutical industry. And Bernie Sanders is aptly pointing out that maybe there's a connection here in terms of why there are issues. And of course, we know that there is always lobbyism at play, but I think it's just very worth noting that at this point, we have the debt ceiling, limit, and budget both kicked down the road through December. Beyond these being kicked down the road through December, we also have the infrastructure plans now kicked down the road to the middle of October. That's what we're looking at right now, is the middle of October. Democratic leaders have said that now more than ever, thanks to the missing of our jobs numbers this morning, that now more than ever is time to spend the multi-trillion-dollar infrastructure, or spend multiple trillions of dollars on infrastructure, especially the soft infrastructure package, the social infrastructure package. For example, you have Biden saying that the unemployment rate going down to 4.8% is a significant improvement from when he took office. Especially Joe Biden touted decreases in Hispanic and Black unemployment rates, but we still have obviously a lot of work to do. But either way, over the next few weeks, especially leading up to Halloween, so about 3 weeks to go, we should see a lot of negotiating on this actual infrastructure package. Where is that number going to land? Are there going to be inflation concerns regarding this? I expect a lot of progress after the inflation statistics come out next Wednesday. That's when we'll get our CPI, Consumer Price Index inflation report for September. And maybe that, if it comes in lower than expected, will help appease Joe Manchin that maybe indeed inflation is a bit temporary. If inflation numbers come in higher than expected, that could definitely make it a lot harder for somebody like Joe Manchin to be okay with a larger package, and instead he might prefer to settle for a smaller package. Anyway, that gives you a little bit of an update in terms of timing of what we've got. We've got a little bit of peace here for a few weeks, although I expect negotiations and bickering between people like Manchin and Sanders to continue, and we'll keep a close eye on developments as they come in. But in the meantime, there is our stimulus and infrastructure update. Thank you so very much for watching, and folks, we'll see you in the next one. Thanks again. Bye.